Join us in the Bear Den, a real-life, real-love podcast celebrating the joys and challenges of parenting, family dynamics, and unconditional love.
All right, welcome to another episode of the Bear Den podcast. Today's guest is an absolute dynamite. He is a serial entrepreneur. He owns one of the top award-winning restaurants in Salt Lake City, Sunday's Best. If there is a party to be held, it is this guest who is throwing it. He is legitimately lightning in a bottle. It is Mr. Michael McHenry.
Hey, bro, so good to see you, man.
I know,
and the
dude.
I love this intro. I love this icon you've taken on, dude. You got your own logo now. Like, things are happening on this personal brand, bro.
I know what's going on.
You look dope. By the way, like,
thank you.
You've been dropping some LBs and getting serious about shit. I can tell.
Yeah.
I can see this. I can feel it on you.
Honestly,
like,
this was from Spain. I talked to you and you were telling me
yeah.
about the weight loss. I'm like, shit, I need to get in. I need to get on with Mike.
Listen, dude, I think it's just one of these things when you start to take it seriously, you get after it. But, bro, above all else, just grateful to be in front of you.
Thank you, man.
And happy to be on your platform and hope we can talk a little shit and hopefully just share it from the inside out, man, and go for it.
That's all it is. So
grateful to be here.
All about parenting.
Okay.
I look at you. You share a lot of your life on social media. Besides the business, besides the parties, besides all the craziness you do with the restaurants, you are first and foremost a father. You've had your ups and downs, your trials and tribulations, which we'll get into.
Sure.
But tell me, I see Mike, who Mike is today, right?
Michael, by the way.
Oh, you don't like Mike?
No.
Is it just Mike?
It's just Michael.
Just Michael?
Yeah,
you don't like Mike?
Yeah. No, I don't mess
Really?
with that. Yeah, bro.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Listen, bro, we're here to talk real.
Okay.
Right? Okay.
That's it.
Cool.
I'll never call
Roll
you
with
Michael
me.
again.
Yeah,
Okay, so Michael, we see the Michael who is today, right?
Yeah.
Full of flair, full of swag, just gets shit
Callous.
done, right?
Yeah.
Who was Michael as a kid?
Yeah.
Tell me that kid.
Dude, you know, we've actually been through this together because of our our lovely association with the Watt group, right? So we've gone through facilitated, opportunities to go back to see that childhood like go back and revisit him and that time. And one thing that is really clear and really present about my childhood is I've always been happy. Like, I'm a happy guy. Now, I think just like us all, we all have our upbringing. We all have our realities, right? And I would say that mine was most definitely not textbook.
Really?
Mine was like way off of what would be acceptable in a mainstream environment today.
Okay.
Right? Like my mom left when I was in third grade. My dad obviously fell like quickly depression, anxiety, and his only way to cope was like to lean into the bottle. So here's my dad who loved us, that wanted to provide his best, that he's incredible. In fact, I'm sure you've met him. I think you may have you met my dad?
Don't think so.
You didn't meet my dad during like Country Fan Fest or any of those events, but dude, he is lovely. Like, absolute cheat code on life. His heart is massive. But here's my mom that leaves in third grade. She's a bit kind of a gypsy at this point. She's living in other areas and even moves out of the country at one point. So just not a ton of relationship there at the younger age. And then my dad that just fell to the bottle and became a functioning alcoholic. And so, at 10, 12, 13 years old, sometimes I'm sitting home. My sister was 8 years older than me. So by the time I was 10, she was out of the house. Yeah. And so there'd be nights where I'm like, geez, I got to figure out what am I doing for dinner? Like, where am I pointing towards, right? There wasn't a lot of that kind of mentoring and I think stability is not the right word because there was always a roof over my head and I always knew I was loved. Yeah. But aside from those things, it was like fend for yourself.
Did you ever feel unloved because he wasn't being a parent?
No, I never created that. I just wasn't even, maybe I was just naive, right? Or just young. Yeah. I was young for 10. I wasn't mature for 10. Yeah. Like my daughter at 10 versus me at 10, radically different. She would sense that and be able to make that kind of association for me. I was like, oh, my dad just at the bar. I just need to figure out how to get dinner. Yeah. It wasn't like emotional for me. It was just like, geez, how many 10 and 12-year-old kids are trying to figure those things out? And so maybe it's because I knew in my heart that my dad's intent was good. Yeah. Like, he just loved me. So I had the stability. I had a roof over my head and I had a parent that loved me, but the rest was up to me. Yeah. No doubt.
Do you know, maybe you do or you don't know this, so our daughters, Lily and Anna, who are my stepdaughters.
Yeah, sure. But you've most definitely, your dad.
But their biological father, we would classify him as an alcoholic. He wouldn't classify himself as one. Yeah,
sure.
There was several years ago when we found out that our girls were exactly in the same boat. They would go to his house. We had them 50-50. They would go to his house. And we found out later on he would like fall asleep at like 6 p.m. And it was Lily, our eldest, who was like 9 at the time, was cooking dinner for her and her sister who was 7.
Yeah. No,
and taking care of themselves.
It's sort of interesting too. Like when you really and which I believe that you do know, but you like once you understand addiction, once you understand the neurological realities that are associated with that. So I don't hold it against my dad. Like he's honestly considered like, I consider him like one of my best friends, if not my best friend. Yeah. Like we are close. But you ever heard the term parentification?
Yeah.
Right. So that's true life for me. Mid-20s, that association happened. I became the parent.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I became that figure. If you speak to my dad, like he will say, that is my pride, my joy. That's like, I lived my life the way I did to help, create that. And I own it. I honor it. My dad is so proud. Every single day, dude, he calls me every day, no matter what. If I don't answer the phone, same 6-second message telling me that he loves me and have a great day. Call him soon. It's the exact same. He has called me, even when I was in Spain, when I'm doesn't matter where I am. He'll know I'm in Lake Powell this upcoming week. Doesn't matter, no service, call me every day. It's like, it's almost robotic, but it's so consistent that no matter what, dude, he's loved me through it. So I grew up in a, reality of a single parent household. Obviously experienced, I think that the realities and associations of alcoholism, as well as just like, I think low emotional IQ, right? Just like not really understanding how to cope with those realities. My mom and my dad got married when they were in high school. I think my mom was a sophomore, my dad was a senior, and they had my sister when my mom was 15 or 16.
Wow.
Right. And so this is like in the 70s. Right. And so like my dad's 22, 24, something like that when they had me. So I also had young parents.
And they didn't know how to parent at that point.
That's right. Like, to me, dude, no resent.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So, but even in those things, those circumstances, bro, I resort back. I'm like, dude, look at that. Like happy little bastard, dude. Like flat top, steps on the side, checkered Vans that I'm wearing today. Shit's not a lot different, dude.
I could see that.
Happy as can be.
I could see that in you.
Holy shit.
Do you have a relationship with your mom?
No.
Not at all.
Listen, do I have her in my heart? Do I love her? Do I appreciate her? I have found those places to just set, I think, the radically different relationship than I have with my dad. I speak to my dad every day. I see him 2 or 3 times a week. I've not spoken to my mom in 2 years. And during one of our breathwork sessions, actually the one in Hebrew. Yeah. She actually visited me. Like we had an opportunity to just reconcile. And like, it was like as out of body yet as in body, as spiritual, as actual as you can imagine. It was like, I love you. Like I forgive you and goodbye.
Yeah.
And I'm all right with that. It's been good.
You didn't need to act on it, pick up the phone, give her a call.
No.
Physically say it versus spiritually.
No, I think when you have spent several years like establishing boundary, establishing a reality, and then seeing that just continue to be broken time after time, we as individuals, as humans, parents, family or not, you must protect your space. We as individuals must protect us first and foremost. And then what I believe is the fruitful byproduct of that is the ability to have life around us. But we got to be right. And you know this. You know this deep. And so, unfortunately, if it's your own parent, I'm just not someone that truly believes that like everything, deserves relationship, that everything deserves the same kind of reconciliation. Jimmy says this really well. Like, dude, you can love someone from a distance. Right? Like you can love someone, you can forgive someone. It doesn't mean they're in your life. And that's where I'm with my mom. Like I have nothing against her. I have no resent for her. It's just not healthy for her and I.
Yeah. You don't want to see her starve, but you don't want to feed her from your table.
100%. 100%. And I've just found that I believe that she's probably actually healthier in her own environment. I think accountability, partnership, and tough love is tough on some, especially on a parent figure. And so no, it's healthy. It's healthy for us, for me and my family.
And I think when you compartmentalize stuff and you compartmentalize stuff where I'm good with this being compartmentalized and you put it away, it's like, I don't need to open that door again. I've worked through it. I've closed the door. We're good.
I think there's, when it comes to compartmentalizing, right? I think there's a reality that it can be quite healthy if it's like well defined and understood. And that it is placed there. And then there's the unhealthy side where it's just like, I'm just going to put it there and not deal with it. And then it's going to grow. And at some point it's going to figure its way to come back in. I've lived both.
Yeah.
And I feel like now what I have found is the ability to actually get real about what's in there and work through that resolution, resolve, and mitigation, like whatever that may be. Like where are the gifts, where are the opportunities? And I love using that framework, dude, right? That we have learned. But I love the framework of like, what are the gifts I'm receiving from this? This, like, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. Like, what am I willing to do to like really lean into this, to like overcome, mitigate, resolve? And then what am I not willing to do? And I think that's the most powerful side of this architecture is like, what am I not willing to do to go forward? Because so many of us, especially us, men, fathers, owners, friends, accountability partners, we're always like, oh, we can fix that. Yeah. Like we can overcome that. And the reality is sometimes just the no is the most powerful. And I think that's why we hear that in the entrepreneurial space, in the realities of the business space. We hear like the power of really being able to say no. Like, no, that does not meet the expectations and conditions that I have set forth for me and my legacy. And so I'm unwilling to waver on that boundary. There's a gift in that. And
you haven't always been that person.
Oh, hell no. Are you kidding me? I just blurt all those lines all the time.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, like, we've known each other 18 months. We met through We Are The Day.
Yeah.
My first interaction with you was at Moab.
Yeah.
I have seen in 18 months a huge shift in who Michael McHenry is.
No doubt. Transformation.
Through Instagram, through knowing you personally, through conversations. Like, there is still Michael McHenry.
Sure, yeah.
The showman,
you're still intact,
the entrepreneur.
Like, you're still intact.
But the inner Michael has it's developed beautifully.
Well, I mean, dude, you talk about my childhood, and the reality is I think you have a quick understanding of that. And then it was also, I grew up in a family that had no real choices in resources, right? It was like, my parents didn't make any real meaningful money. They weren't driven in the same ways. Like my dad was being drafted to the MLB and found out he got my mom pregnant, and he said no to his first contracts to get drafted and went to get a job at a mechanic shop.
Wow.
You see where I'm going? Like my dad's priority was like, you're just supposed to do it this way. And instead of going like, geez, let's figure out how to get my mom there. Let's take advantage of this MLB contract. My dad's batting average was like over 500 in high school. He was like top.
Yeah.
It was just like in the 70s, that dude was hitting bombs. It was like dingers only. Right. And it just that very mentality is the very mentality that has held my family back.
Do you think there's resentment on your dad's side for him giving up that?
I've never
to create the family.
I've never sensed any resent in my dad ever.
Wow.
Never. Like my dad doesn't speak a poor word of anyone. He doesn't even talk bad about my mom, about anyone. Like my dad is just a lover. It's almost like the beauty in the ignorance. Like, they say like ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
He's like so naive in some ways that it just allows him to just like bounce.
Yeah.
Like I talked to him this morning. We were just like shooting the shit. He's talking about Moab and things that are coming on, making sure that I'm good with the weather and my travel and the things that are associated. I'm like, he just loves it.
He just wants to be around you.
Like, and he just is. He internally has very few conflicts, at least that I'm aware of.
I love
and there's a beauty to it. But recognizing that, grew up in a family that didn't have a lot of choices. Yeah. I'm like, screw this. I'll never live in this way.
Well, that was going to be my next question. When you're living in a one-parent family, you said your dad, turned to the bottle, became an alcoholic. It's very easy for you to see that day in and
high functioning. Like the guy never lost a job. He worked in the family business. Like, dude, my dad was a straight up 8 to 5, like no time off, few vacation, like functioning.
Yeah.
The guy didn't wake up in the morning. There's so many different forms, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, like alcoholism has like one container, like a one size fits all. It's not true.
Yeah, 100%.
Right. But he was like the most definitely drank, quarter to a half to a full fifth on a nightly basis. He and my grandpa, they built cars. They were just high functioning.
Yeah.
But as a kid looking into it, as a parent now, you're like, wow. I'm like, I can't think of anything worse than being a parent with a hangover.
Oh,
I can't think of anything worse than the next day waking up, realizing I don't have a full mental faculty and the ability to just take full advantage of the fucking moment right in front of me. Not only for me, but all the relationships around me. Like, dude, you've seen it. I beat myself up if my mental faculty is affected, like big time.
Yeah.
Right. And I know that my highest version, sober, no matter what.
Yeah.
Like my highest version, my frequency, my vibration, sober for sure. Doesn't keep me from tipping the bottle from time to time. Doesn't keep me from some of those decisions. But I know damn well that like my highest power is in my most sober and most clear mental faculty.
Yeah. It's one of the reasons why I barely drink. And I bet I'm not very much tell you, like, I'll enjoy a drink. Like, we were in Spain, we were in Pamplona, we had some drinks that one night, but I'm like, I'm good.
Yeah.
I don't want to wake up hungover. I don't want to wake up in a state of, oh shit, I can't function. I just want to function. And when you raise daughters who have a biological father who drinks a lot, there is something inert inside you that says, I have to be better.
There's a question inside of that. I think that's something that I realized too, and especially when something like that can run in your own bloodstream or similar to, and today we're far more educated. We're far more knowledgeable, but as well as just like thoughtful and much more in tune. And then there's a responsibility. There's a stewardship and a responsibility that follows recognizing that. Yeah. That's the biggest one for me. I actually know in my heart, in my mind, and those around me that I'm better without.
Yeah.
I'm not perfect with that, but I can tell you right now, dude, I am radically different than I was a year ago, and 2 years ago, and 3 years ago, and 5 years ago, and the 8-year-old version of this, like me talking to myself 8 years ago. I'm like, bro, you proud of where we are? Of what we've accomplished and how we actually aren't addicted to those things, and that we do prioritize a better first health, opportunity. So it's big. So yeah. And that's really where this big entrepreneurial drive came for me too, were the gifts that I saw in my family that I'm like, I never want to complain to my daughters about money. I never want to see them held back from the choices that we don't have. And as I'm sure you see, like my 12-year-old Elle, like she works.
Yeah.
She shows up and she earns it. Now she has a great life. She lives in a great neighborhood, goes to great programs, great friends. She's an academic scholar. She's a great athlete. Like she has an incredible emotional IQ for her age. She's very thoughtful and present, and she's beautiful, and she knows how to work.
Yeah.
And she's learning at that age, although she has choices that I would say that a lot of kids don't, based off the decisions that her parents make. She also sees the sacrifice. And that's a bit of the journey. There's a big difference between kind of the childhood that I believe that Elle has experienced and that of what her young twin sisters are experiencing, this like evolution of their dad.
Yeah.
Like I am connected to my daughters, my twins, Vera and Veda, at 20 months that took me more than 8 years with Elle.
Wow. Yeah.
And
because of the growth you've done.
Well, I think you're like, the next question is like, well, what's the difference, right? And maybe and maybe I'm jumping ahead here, but I was so unwaveringly counterbalanced into creating success that I created a wake and known and unknown. Like building business, I've been all in all the time. Like that's just, I'm like the solve to every opportunity is more money, more choices, more labor.
Yeah.
And I've gotten smarter. I'm a more veteran at this game now. Now I've like, if I was using a boxing analogy, now I've learned how to like cover up versus just like get in and get the knockout.
Yeah.
Right. And take a bunch and just take them on the chin, take them on the head, take them, take the brain damage along with the knockout. And now it's like, I'm going to hang back and I'm going to get the knockout opportunity, but I'm not going to take on the hits, the unreasonable hits that I was used to just running in the ring. And I'm going to win no matter what.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's at the cost of my own personal health. It's at the cost of, my sponsors, my relationships. I don't know why I got on that analogy, but the reality is like I was willing to take on any shot necessary to get there. Now I'm way more strategic, a bit more like a sniper versus a John Wayne.
Yeah.
But when John Wayne becomes a sniper, it's kind of dangerous.
Oh, hell yeah.
Because he's got grit, bro.
Well,
right?
and I think for you, as successful as you are, creating the businesses that you have from the ground up, from inception to reality, I've heard you talk on multiple podcasts about like the iterations of just the Nashville chicken sandwich, like thousands of iterations. I'm like, who does that? It's a fucking sandwich.
I ate it over 200. I ate it over 200 restaurants developing that alone.
It's an amazing amount of time and dedication to be the very best version of yourself and your businesses. That has to come at a sacrifice.
Undeniably.
Yeah.
And I think the difference though is that everything around me sacrificed at the success of my business. But what I also didn't realize until the last probably 3 to 4 years is that the business also paid a massive price for your own sacrifice that you weren't willing to see. And it really took, Matt, me getting to this place of Christy leaving me to recognize what needed to change in the architecture around how I operated in business, how I operated in my own mind and my own heart. And, for good, obvious, like very warranted reasons, we separated. And I found myself—
How long ago was this?
This was like 2 years, maybe 3 years ago.
Okay.
Somewhere in that range. Like, yeah, a little over 2 years ago. And it was like 16, 18 months long. Like I'm living on my own. I have my own townhome. The family home's in Olympus Cove. I'm in Sugar House. And it was pretty early for me in this where I saw this realization. I'm like, wait a minute. Here I am standing in this space. Like I've worked my ass off. I created these businesses. Like we've had very viable brands. I feel like I've kind of have all the choices and no choices, meaning like I'm standing here by myself going like, I've worked my ass off to be standing here.
Yeah.
And then also what I quickly realized is my ego stood in place and I was like, hell no, am I not going to not be at least the 50% dad? Like I'm not this 30% dad or 40% dad. Like, no, split this down the middle. Like I'm going to comb hair, make lunches, do homework, do drop-offs and push through it. And what I quickly realized is that I had this self-convincing narrative that I was a great father, even during that time.
Yeah.
And I quickly realized that I was a great provider and very little father.
That's a huge realization.
And that I was like, yes, I was a committed business leader. I think I was respected in a lot of ways. I had created a lot of respect. I had friends and influences and influence. But what I quickly realized is that like I had no real relationship with my wife at the time.
Yeah.
Someone that I truly loved that had been there. Like I can truly say, like Christy's been there from the time I was like on the park bench, dude, to like, you know, you've seen the meme before that's like you're at the bus stop because you have no money, no credit, and no reality to be able to do something. And there's a picture of you in a Lamborghini together. Like we've experienced that contrast. Yeah. And there's something special inside of that. Yeah. But it took really that moment for me to stand there to get real. And dude, just so you know, this was like Moab's like shortly after that realization standing there.
Wow.
So I like walked into Moab meeting you for the first time and probably one of the most difficult times of my life. Now from the business side, from the brand and personal brand relevance side, radically different.
Yeah.
But from a personal aspect, dude, lost, confused, broken in many ways. You know, I like to say like, what was the biggest realization in the last 16 to 18 months for you? Like for me personally, it was going from lost to found. I've always had the energy. I've always had the ability to turn it on and turn it up. And thank the Lord, dude, that I can wake up in the morning and I have more gas in my tank than probably anybody I know. Like I hit the shower and I'm damn near licking the mirror on my way out, dude, because I can't wait to just hit the ground and honestly tackle the fucking world. Like I just, dude, it's something in me and I love it. I've had it since I was a little kid, dude. Yeah. Like I'm intense in that way, but being able to channel it in a much healthier way. And so walking into Moab, dude, that's why you probably saw such a heavy emotion on me. It's probably also why you saw that the first like 6 to 8 months that I was in the group, I didn't really know anyone. Mm-hmm. Like I just rolled in. I was selfish about my own growth because I didn't go there to meet any new friends.
Yeah.
I went there to become a better man.
Yeah. Were you expecting the growth to happen as quickly as it did through We Are the They, or were you expecting it to be a
I don't know that I had
process?
I don't know that I had an expectation either way. I was still 1 foot in, 1 foot out till I got to Moab. I almost didn't show up.
Well, if I remember, you actually showed up a day late because you had an event. You came in late that night.
I came in that night. I got in a car accident and got a speeding ticket on my way there.
Cool.
Yep, and it was kind of a fun one too because I got in the car accident on my way there, and there was some gal, and she was really upset and a little bit nervous, but she was like, I don't have the money, and I want to fix my car, and I don't want to be inconvenienced. I said, do you have a Venmo? She's like, yeah. I'm like, I'll Venmo you $500. She's like, really? I'm like, done. I Venmoed her $500, took back off. And then 2 hours later, I got pulled over for doing like 35 over. And I had a gun in my glove box. I had all this shit going on. But you know me, it was like, be brief, be bright, be gone. Like, I think I talked to the cop for 5 minutes. It was just like, it was so quick. He's like, as long as that thing's not pointed at me, I don't care. And he's like, cowboy cop. Like, this was a 5-0, dude. Like, the legit 5-0. And so I rolled with it. But I was 1 foot in, 1 foot out. But it was really easy for me, dude. When we got in, we broke into those initial groups and it was like, what's the badass side? Dude, about 2/3 of the group I got paired in, their badassery was the husband and father that they are. Mm-hmm. Not like what they've created, right? Like if we were to write obituaries that morning or that evening with that team, theirs would have been about like father, participation, husband, community. Mine would have been like, restaurateur success, like his family's going to learn about him in a memoir.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. To now, bro, such a radical difference. Like such a radical difference. And so, yeah, I mean, the journey of really being a thoughtful and participating father and being much more mindful has been the last 2 years for me. And I know that's why those twins are here.
Yeah.
Bro,
and I
know
think it's so, and
they were a gift to me. They were a
so
gift.
important. Like if knowing you, and that, you know, there's people out there that have known you way longer than I have. I've only had the pleasure of knowing you for 18 months, but in that 18 months, seeing you on social, which you are extremely social on social media because that's your brand, that's your business, that's who you are. But seeing the diversity of, oh, look, there's a picture of Mike. He's at, he's at one of the restaurants. He's at an opening. He's doing this. But then, boom, there's a picture of you and Elle. And you're just kicking it back, sat on the grass, watching a concert, and the smile on both of your faces, I'm like, that is pure bliss. The smile on Mike's face when he's at a restaurant opening, it's like, fuck yeah, I did this, I created this, boom, this is awesome. But the picture on Michael's face when you're sat with your daughter, there's
a different level of fulfillment.
Such a difference.
Yeah, and I had to earn that.
Yeah.
Like I don't know about some dads that are out there. I don't know what it's like for you, but it wasn't a light switch for me. Like Elle wasn't born as like, oh, you know how to be a dad, or like, oh, you're my priority, or oh, it was this way. And I just say it candidly. And I hope there's, whether you're a young entrepreneur or you're successful in your business, or you're just growing through it, or you aspire to be a dad at some point, the reality of it is there's an architecture that you have to adopt, that you have to really learn and prioritize how to become that man.
How did you create the balance?
There isn't one.
Okay.
No, it's a total counterbalance for me. Like what I have found is that when I'm dad, I'm all in. And when I'm in business, I'm all in. And so that's been something for me. Like I did a few kind of little cheat codes. One of those is I took my office out of my house. I don't work at home. I never work at home. If I get on a business call, dude, I go for a walk.
Really?
I don't work at home. I just don't. Like it can wait. And any other family home I've ever owned, that was never the case. Yeah. The office was the coolest part of the house to me.
Yeah.
It was the part that I wanted to be in the most. It's where I craved to it. You know, yesterday I had the opportunity to jump on with 50 of our guys, listen to Pipes and a few others, and Jimmy, of course. It was amazing. And I remember when Elle was young, like she'd get out of school and she went to a private school that was really close to my HQ. And I mean, literally, dude, I had built an HQ in one of our other emerging brands that had like a twisty slide in it and all these crafts and projects. And I had an assistant that literally, like, her role was to hang with Elle when she got out of school. It wasn't like, hey, dad wants to go. It was like, what are anything that I can do to make sure that she is entertained while I get as much work as I possibly can get done, and then we'll get home at what time we can.
Yeah.
To now, it's like, bro, I'm like, what kind of architecture do I have? Like, how efficient can we be? What is our performance to plan? And how much real time can I give to my family and then to my business?
Yeah.
Like, I love being with my girls. So yesterday, like, case in point, it's like 1 o'clock in the afternoon or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and the twins are sleeping, and I took the opportunity to like head up to their mom's house and like put them to bed for their nap, and then like be able to log on with you guys and be super thoughtful about it. And then when their mom came back, I was able to like close up and hit the road and rock onto my next one and pick Elle up at 2:45. So it was like this interesting dynamic from like 1 to 3 o'clock yesterday. It just was this interesting perspective for me of how much I've grown, because 2 years ago, I would have had babysitters and nannies, and I would have been coordinating that to like today. I was like, yeah, for the next 2.5 hours,
your dad,
I'm going to lean into my personal development, which is what has actually put me right here. I'm going to get on with my coach. I'm going to get on with my community and my Watt brothers, and I'm going to take care of my girls. Mm-hmm. And to me, dude, I'm like, that's success. Have I arrived? No. But the work that I have done over the course of the last 2 years, but really my life, and has really shown me what is most important. And here's what I want the entrepreneurs to hear, because I never believed this. You know, my friend Sean Whalen used to say, and he says it pretty loudly, like, get your house in order. And I'm like, dude, get your house in order, bro. I'm like a gypsy in a lot of ways. Like, bro, I can, like, I don't even know gypsy's the right word, but it's like, I can be a bit of a maverick in a sense. Like, I don't need all of that.
Yeah.
But what I didn't realize is he wasn't saying like your home. He was saying like your house, like you get in order. And dude, I just discounted what that meant for so long. And then I just got real about it. And no money can buy that for you. Money can give you time. Mm-hmm. It can give you choices, it can give you resources. It can give you an architecture to help, expedite, right? But you don't get to buy that. You got to earn it.
Yeah. And
that was something that really had the greatest impact, is that going through that separation, experiencing that layer of soon to be divorce, that going through and challenging morality and lacking monogamy and the things that went along with it were all things that contributed to what I believe is a well-rounded, experienced man and father that has now the ability to lead and guide his family, that now has the ability to be a true lighthouse and beacon for his own legacy and for the many strong men and women around him that need that kind of guide, that came from someone who built the structure, who has weathered the storm.
Yeah. Well, and you strip all that away. You take away every single one of your restaurants. You take away every single dime. You're still a dad.
Dude. And
you've still got kids that adore you and love you and look up to you and need your guidance and need your love and your support and everything else. You strip everything fundamentally away from you. You just leave you with $1 in your pocket. You're still a dad.
Dude, this is what is crazy about being in this experience, is that the moment I got that home, that home and house, that house and home in order, was really the moment that the fruitful byproduct was that everything else around me started succeeding far better.
Isn't that crazy?
Like, dude, I'm telling you, like, I put in not less like effort, but less time into my business, but yet my business got better. Mm-hmm. My business got better because I got better. I got better, my business got better. I got better, my families got better. I got better, my relationship with Elle got better. I got better, Elle got better. I got better, Chrissy got better. I got better, Aislinn got better. I got better, Vera, Veda. Like, it's just a beautiful byproduct of just getting things in order. Yeah. And, you know, I'm sure you know, like, bro, I've been married for 12 years. I went through some rocky periods. I've lived on my own 2 or 3 different times. I went through a sizable separation, and I had twins with my best friend. Yeah,
and that's one thing I wanted to touch on there. You know? You've openly shared this with Inside We Are Today. I don't know if you've openly shared it publicly.
This is
a very public platform, so tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, like, within 2 weeks of me finding out that I was having twins with my best friend, I went on Dadhood and shared it on a podcast.
Wow.
Like, there was nothing for me to hide about. Like, it wasn't, the reality of it is like what society chooses for the norms to be is up to society. What I choose to be and walk in my own integrity and what I believe that my authenticity is like, I just own my shit.
Yeah.
I never hid behind it.
That's like, one thing I know about you. You own your shit.
Like, I think people go like, why does it work? Like, how does Christy, Aislinn, Elle, Veda, Vera, families, life? I'll tell you, like, honestly, more friends and family have more issue with it because they want an issue. They believe, like, dude, Christy has had people in her family and close to her say, just because you're okay with it, honey, doesn't mean I am.
Wow.
Right? Like, I'm dead serious. Or like, we've been in social settings before where things are that way. Or like, I'm not pissed off. I'm not mad. I don't resent. There's some trickery involved in this, right? There was some, there's no question that it lacked transparency in a lot of ways. But the reality is, dude, those twins showed up for me to be the dad that I know that I'm capable of being.
Yeah.
Those twins showed up at a time in which I probably needed that experience and that responsibility more than any other. Those twins have made me better for Elle.
Those
twins have made me a better husband. They've made me a better friend. Yeah. They've made me a better business owner, thought partner. They slowed me down and sped me up. Mm-hmm. But I think most importantly, dude, they kept me young. Dude, I'm 41. I can kick the shit out of my 30-year-old version, mentally and physically.
Yeah.
Like, mentally, physically, my 30-year-old version is so outmatched. It'd be like Mike Tyson walking in with a 9th grader.
Yeah.
Like, I'm dead serious. It's that contrast.
Yeah.
And I look at it this way, like, bro, I'm going to have 12-year-old daughters at 50, not a 12-year-old daughter at 40.
Mm-hmm.
And I see what I do with my 12-year-old now. And you said, like, hey, you share so much of this on social. Do you know that I use my stories on social as like my public journal? It creates accountability partnership. Mm-hmm. Bro, if you see this, you hear me talking, you hear me sharing, you hear me experiencing, you hear me living, there's no greater accountability than, like, how many people have you seen in social, or that you see these social influencers, other people, and like one thing's on social and the next thing is reality. You're like, wow, the contrast, dude, it's just me.
Yeah.
That's why I think I've been able to build such a strong personal brand, is because it's just me.
Yeah.
Like, those filters are my life.
Yeah. How is the dynamic between you and Christy, the twins' mom, the twins, like, obviously it was a lot for Christy to accept.
Yeah. She didn't talk to me for 2 months.
And allow that into her life. And like, I can only imagine, you coming home and saying, hey, honey, by the way, I've made my best friend pregnant.
How about it was something like 6 to 8 weeks after getting back in the family home together, I had to share that I was having twins. With the one woman in her eyes, she's like anyone else in the world, McHenry, but her, right? Wow. It's not because she hates her, doesn't like they honestly, I think they in a lot of ways respect each other. I think in a lot of ways they no two women know me better.
Yeah.
And bro, they've both been in my life for literally about the exact same amount of time.
Wow.
Like 20 years. This isn't like a 2-year friendship or 2-year relationship, or you swipe right and meet someone. Like these gals have been in my life my whole adult life.
Yeah. So they're fundamental parts of your life.
Like every experience, like highs, lows, in betweens, like every bit of that. And the twins' mom also has been my thought partner and business partner, and has worked with me in every single brand that I've ever been a part of, ever, from the ground up.
Wow.
So it's also like there was a lot of that, associated with it, and a lot of personal emotion associated with it. And there's so much contrast and so much reality. But I would say, and although you can't compare, but if you were to look at what you would believe to be acceptable in society, what you would believe to assume, it's far better. Like, it's super high functioning. Like, there's a lot of security and stability on both sides, meaning like, moms and kids, live great lives. And there's a lot of communication, and we have a great nanny, Gretchen, in between. Like, she's like this beautiful, like, conduit between, the realities of the households in a lot of ways. Yeah. And it's very open. Like, Christy knows I talk to him and I see him every day. Like, it's very transparent. Like, the girls see each other. Like, they have a big sister. They engage. Like, Elle FaceTimes with the girls, and Christy and I take the girls often. And, it's pretty interesting. Like, we'll find ourselves like, we were at the country club pool a couple of weeks ago, and people will walk up to Christy and be like, "Oh my gosh, I had no idea that you have twins." It's like, "Yeah, this is Vera, Veda, and Elle. This are Elle's little sisters." And she owns it like they're her own.
I love that.
She treats them as much as their own as she can. Mm-hmm. And being someone who has stepped in to become the father, you still aren't the biological father. And there is a biological difference.
Oh, 100%.
No, and especially with moms. And Christy and I have talked through this. I've talked through this with Aislinn as well on the side of Elle. Like, Aislinn was a huge part of Elle's life.
Yeah. This
person I'm telling you about, like, coloring and creating the crafts and going down the slide in the office, that's Aislinn.
Yeah.
That was, so you see this difference now. And I think under most circumstances, that wouldn't ever seem acceptable to any, or to most maybe, but to us, it's exactly who we are, and it's how the McHenrys work. And it's built on just a high level of communication, trust and respect.
Well, that was actually, I love you said that, because that was going to be one of my questions. Is there's probably people listening that may be in the same position. They've had, children out of an affair, could be with a friend, or could be with someone that's
so many more of those scenarios than I ever knew were even reality till I shared my story. Dude, Christy is from this type of relationship.
Really?
Oh, dude, my grandmother told me she met a brother and sister. Like, the stories that have come from this is like, sometimes it just takes someone like me or a you
to bring it out,
but specifically me, who's just willing to own their shit day one.
Yeah.
And so, those that are listening in, or that are getting after it, the energy, the emotion, the sadness, the resent, the anxiety, the depression, the fear that you're holding off of what other people think, spit that shit out.
Yeah. I love it.
Because all that matters actually is you and how you show up for them. Mm-hmm. And who I mean is them are your children and your legacy, not for your coworker, Facebook, Instagram, the business next door, the neighbor. Like, forget that shit. And that's been a hard pill for some people, like close friends and family, to swallow. And you'll quickly find out, like, if they're really on board with you.
Yeah.
And like, honestly, dude, this cleared the bracket. Like, we did lose some relationships and some friendships and some energy along the way, but that's a choice that they're making.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The choice that I'm making is, well, this is forever for me.
Yeah. You got to,
like, it's forever. This is a forever decision. I'm actually quite happy about it. And I'm actually not here to live on anybody else's behalf. or anybody else's expectation. I'm confident in myself and my own reflection and my awareness. And I think that awareness can be a superpower in many ways that like, it doesn't have to work for anybody else, just has to work for me and mine.
Yeah. And what were some of the things that you and Christy and everybody put into place to make this as successful as it is? I know you talked about like communication and trust, but like what were some of the specific things you said, okay,
boundaries.
We will do this, we won't do this.
Yeah, there's boundaries and resolve, right? Like we don't play house.
Okay.
Right. Playing house under that situation is pretty easy.
Yeah.
Right. Like meaning like commingling things and living in between. Like I'm not trying to live in between two households. I'm here to help create stability and guidance for two and be a great partner. Right. And I was someone that blurred those lines early because there was a lot of emotion involved. And it took one of our friends, Doc Nick Hallen, to basically be like, hey, McHenry, you don't get to eat your cake or have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah.
Right. Like you got to treat this like a divorced relationship that has a split family. And so what's really important about that is making sure that things are defined, right? Like, child support, child care, like resources, economics, involvement, support, overnights, all those types of things. So getting that architecture in place was a big part of that. Critically important, not only just the success and I think the overall viability of the situation and sustainability, but also to the emotions, right? So that was really important to Christy as well. Some of those things, at least naturally, aren't as important to me because I'm like, I'll just take care of that. I'll be here, I'll be there, right? It's just a bit of that entrepreneurial spirit. Yeah. So establishing and defining that architecture was really important. And then it took a change in communication as well, which was a big reason why like I ended up loving two women. Mm-hmm. It's because I allowed myself to be emotionally involved in two relationships. And so that was probably the hardest thing to begin to overcome.
Would you say that was one of the things that you were lacking that led you to be in the situation?
Fuck 100%.
Yeah,
dude. Are you kidding me?
The
Like
lack of self-love.
Dude,
right?
Are you kidding me? Like, I think it's not even a lack of, maybe even the lack of self-love was just like the need and want for outside love and warrant. And
I resonate with that.
Yeah, I mean, like
I had an affair on my first wife with Andrea.
Yeah.
We were married for 2 years. I didn't love myself, but I wasn't getting enough love from my wife. I wanted love from everybody else and show it. And Andrea showed it. I'm like, well, fuck, I'm leaning in because she's loving me harder than my wife is. And we ultimately had an affair.
I think here's something that we have to recognize as men. It is far easier to seek the warrant and love externally than internally. And bro, the moment that I started to really love me was the moment that I didn't need the world to love me.
Yeah.
Now, reality is like fruitful byproduct of self-love and confidence and awareness is you get a lot of fans. You get a lot of people, on board. And in no way is that my intent, but I spent greater than 80% of my adult life seeking warrant and love from other people and not loving me, bro. Mm-hmm. And that is where all these realities, and you've understood this in an in-depth way, like what has probably been at the core root of the biggest adversities that I have faced, that I have chosen, and that I have also overcome have come from the lack of self-love and trust.
Yeah.
And when I tell you like going from lost to found is the fact that like I went from needing that to just earning it and receiving it. Mm-hmm. And this is where I say like, if the moms were here right now, I think they could both say that like I show up for them today radically different than a year ago and 5 years ago, that I have a different level of emotional maturity as well as just commitment and communication, but most importantly, just standard.
Yeah. I don't know if you remember this. It's one of my greatest and funniest stories of you is we've known each other for a year. We were up in Heber at our last Ludus and we were outside. You actually pissed on yourself. It was kind of funny.
Oh, cool. Perfect.
I'll tell you.
It was upwind. Yeah.
Yeah, you're upwind. Yeah. You never pee upwind. And I had known you for 12 months at that point. I'd seen the Michael McHenry. I'd been to the restaurant. I've seen the way you operate. And you are literally one of the best people in a space where you make everybody feel loved. It only takes you a sentence or a second. I've seen it in your restaurant. In fact, we had this conversation in Spain. Going side note, Jonah and I were sat at a table in Spain at a dinner. You came over. You were doing a Michael McHenry thing. You go around every table. You neglect your own food. You're making sure everybody's good. And you're telling people how to eat their dinner. And it's not even your fucking restaurant,
Yeah.
right? But you came over and you sat down for literally less than a minute. And you got up and you walked away, and Jonah turned around and said, he goes, isn't it amazing that Mike can make you feel the most loved in a minute that will take other people centuries? I was like, that's just who he is. He just tells people he loves them, right? We were in Heber, and I came up to you outside, and I said, I have seen you for the last 12 months, and I've always liked you. It has taken me up until this point where I don't see the restaurants, I don't see the swag.
I remember that.
Logo.
We were at that little patio area where the coolers were, yeah.
I actually finally see the real Michael McHenry, and I fucking adore you.
Yeah, thank you.
And it's not the cars, the swag, the gifts, whatever. It's just, I absolutely see the difference in you and the energy that you give off, which is now self-love and therefore loving others. Yeah. And it actually allows me to fall in love with Michael McHenry, not just the personification of Michael McHenry.
Dude, I love that you bring this up. One, thank you, by the way. Thank you for seeing me. I think a big part of this is I want other men, I want other women to be able to feel the gift of self-love. Because I wanted so bad for others to love me. And what I didn't realize for the biggest part of my life is that I actually just needed to love me.
Yeah.
Right? Like, what's the old saying? Like, if you're out there searching for love, you're never going to find it.
Yeah.
But the reality of it is the moment that you love you, it just shows up. Yeah. And dude, look at who shows up in Matt's life today versus yesterday versus 2 years ago versus 18 months ago. Like, look at what you attract.
Yeah.
And I attract smarter, more competent, more experienced, more living, more life, more positive than ever before. Even at my darkest moments, I was still one of the most positive in the rooms in which I participated in. Right. But now what I have found is that I sit at tables where I'm not always the most positive one. I'm very positive, but there's others that sit there with me that have even a greater positive output or input to them. I sit at tables now where I'm no longer the smartest guy or the wealthiest guy or the most accomplished. Oftentimes, like I'm like one of the smallest guys, right? Like within the last bit, I had the opportunity to go ringside, and you've heard some of this with Ben Carr before, but I had the chance to go ringside at UFC. I think it was like 275 or something like that. And dude, I literally was like me and 3 billionaires. Same row, same conversation, speaking kind of over me. And I literally, dude, said like 25 words in one night. Yeah. Like I said 25 words between the front door and the truck by myself. Like but my point was the conversations that were happening there. And the fact that I had been able to insert myself into those types of rooms and those situations is a big part of the fact that, like, to get welcomed into those moments and those realities, it takes a far greater self-awareness and an understanding of reflection and participation and the value in which you can bring. Yeah. And the smart ones know that, and you're either welcomed in or you're not. And so, yeah, I mean, kind of fast forward or rewind to this point, the father that I want to be and that have longed to be is what's put me in the driver's seat for the life that I have now. Because, dude, I want to work as swift and as efficient as we possibly can, because, dude, there's few things I enjoy more than putting my twins in the stroller and taking them for a cruise.
There is nothing I love more than seeing you do that. I'm like, the only thing that could beat that is if I was to see you wearing like the hangover harness with the kid in the front. Like, that would be the epitome of like amazing balls to me.
Or it's like, I can the contrast of like being able to just take my twins on a morning walk, or to play and to feed, or to tease and to tickle, and to just hang out or to read. And then I can take my daughter Elle to, LA and to the beach side the week before school, and be able to give her those moments, school shopping in California, and, riding a beach cruiser for the first time ever in her life on a beach, on a boardwalk in Santa Monica. It's like pretty damn cool experience, right? Because at home she's like electric scooter, mountain bike, at first reality of that. And we're cruising, down Santa Monica Pier, and we end up like, we've got I don't know if you're familiar, but they have like those big, like aerobic rings and the ropes and such. And I was like, Dad, watch this. I can climb that. And I'm like, are you serious? She parks the bike, runs through the sand, and zips to the top, probably saw it on social, and then zips back down. And the guys around her are like, what the hell? Well, dude, Elle's been in aerobatics for 2/3 of her life. Yeah. And it's like a 30-foot rope. And she's like self-trust and just burns down this thing. And it was like, you know, most parents like, oh my God, don't touch that thing. Like, get out of there. And I'm like, oh my God, you just parked your bike and you ran up there. And so I'm using these sort of contrasts because I think the contrast is what like the Lord wanted me to have. The in-between, the bookcase, like the bookends. Yeah. Like, what are we doing in the middle? Yeah. Right? Take care of the edges and the middle handles itself. And it was like, I think it was too one-sided. I think I lost too much of the early years of Elle in what I was building in terms of just architecture, you know, what I believe is empire. And I needed to get back to what was most important. And I truly believe that I was put here to be an incredible guide, a lighthouse, a beacon for my family. And I'm here to raise like the most capable women on this planet. And that's my responsibility. And I have the intensity to run with any man. I have the tenacity to run with any warrior. I know that. And I have the heart, dude, and the mind and the experience and the love and the heart to be the father of women. Like, it's just, I know that's my calling, dude. I didn't know it was. If you had asked me this, dude, a year ago, 18 months ago, you asked me this in Moab, I would have told you I want it, but it's not my calling. Yeah. And now I'm like, no, it is.
I love that, dude.
It is. Dude, I've said no more to more deals in the last 6 to 12 months for this very reason than ever in my life, in my professional career.
And look what it gives you.
Yeah, there's just a different joy and there's a different fulfillment, and it's exactly what I want, bro. So
I love that, dude. I truly love that you found the love for Michael McHenry.
Thank you.
Because I've loved seeing the transition. I've loved getting to know you from the limited amount in Moab of he owns a couple of restaurants and he makes a great chicken sandwich, to loving Michael McHenry for who you are and the friendship we have and the stories we've shared and the shit talk we've had on in Spain and all the bullshit totally, in between.
Man. I mean, listen, there's accountability in that too, right? Like you got to arc with the people that you love, and the people that really love you will realize like, dude, there's no energy behind it. It's just like, fucking do better.
Yeah. 100%.
Like show up differently, you know? And we've been there. Oh, like, you know, we've been there, and hell yeah.
Yeah. I think when I look at generally great people, I look at you as a generally great person as a business owner, but I also look at the smiles on the face of your kids when they're with you. I look at the stories that you share of your children. I look at the accomplishment that you have created with Christy and with the twins' mom and the twins, and being able to blend all that. I'm like, there's not many people could do that and hold it together. Yeah. And sure as shit, there's a lot of it which is responsible for Christy and the girl's mom and you. Sure. Like, it's not just Michael.
Everyone has to participate.
Everybody's got to participate. But you, in essence, set the tone.
Yeah, like it's environmental.
Yeah.
Right? And that is just, it has to be fully functioning. And I will say, like, everyone has to be all in on the circumstance in order for you to have an all-in outcome.
Oh, 100%.
And that's... It takes that of the collective, like the universe, the kingdom, right? Mm-hmm. The planet, it has to align. Yeah. And the moment that something comes out of alignment, there's three. Mm-hmm. Like, it's pretty quick. Yeah. It's like the moment something's out of alignment, it's quick because it's affecting the universe.
Well,
right?
You are the keystone to that relationship. Yeah. If you take yourself out of the relationship, Christy and the girl's mom, they're two single parents, and Mike's in between somewhere. Yeah. You are literally the keystone.
Which, by the way, like a year and a half ago was a big reality.
Yeah.
Right? Because I also, like, I couldn't force to have a relationship in either direction. Mm-hmm. I just knew that I had to get right and I had to be present. Yeah. And, you know, there was a 3-month period that I was like, dude, I'm going to be a single dad of 3. And I'm a single dad of 3. Yeah. And I'm going to fucking figure it out because that's what we do. Yeah. And, you know, when you're a man of the house, you get after it. And, you know, we have that stewardship and responsibility to make sure that we show up. And I think we say we show up under every condition. I think that is absolutely true, but show up under every condition well-tooled, well-disciplined.
Yeah, that's huge.
Open to receiving is wildly different than just walking in the ring, as I said earlier, taking on every hit possible, but still getting the knockout. It's just different now. Different now.
And I think I want to add one thing to that too. I think it's important that you have to be open to fail. Yeah. That's huge. Yeah. Open to fail.
Yeah, 100%.
If you don't fail, you never grow, right? You know, there's failure in growth. Sure. So I think you are a huge inspiration to others as a business owner, as a leader, as a huge pivotal point of the community for Salt Lake City. And on top of that, I think you are a huge inspiration as a parent to show others that it is possible to parent with two different women with different kids and blend all that together to be an entrepreneur, a business owner, a business leader, a community leader, and still be a phenomenal father.
Thank you.
So I love you to my core. I love the Michael McHenry, not the Flash, not the logo. I love Michael McHenry. I think you're generally one of the most beautiful human beings on the planet and soul. And I truly treasure you coming in today and chatting with me and sharing your story so openly and so beautifully. And I just freaking love you, dude.
Thanks, man. Well, likewise, like I wouldn't be here if I didn't have that level of admiration for you. I wouldn't be here and sharing in the way I did if I didn't trust you and trust the platform and be able to walk in my true authenticity as well as my own integrity. These moments provide me an opportunity to reflect in my own growth. So I appreciate you creating that space, because I think that there is a reality that we need to see more of this, right? Whether that's visiting our younger selves or our future selves. But I know there's Matts out there, there's Michaels out there. When I was experiencing this stuff, I wasn't hearing this from other people. What I was hearing is, oh my gosh, like you walked out on your family, like you cheated on your wife or your spouse, or you had, kids out of the marriage, or you had these types of things. And the reality of it is, like, bro, I get more people that stop me on like, how do you do this? Mm-hmm. Like, how can I be better? Like there's a lot of examples and a lot of realities, and no way do I believe that I have arrived. I'm also seeing that the world needed my experiences.
Yeah.
The world needed that. Yeah. I needed it. I didn't even know I did. Those are the most difficult situations that I have actually overcome in my life. Yeah. Because when something includes something that is forever, and it includes such emotion, it includes such fear and unknown, you are literally forced to make decisions, good, bad, and ugly. And the reality of it is these circumstances put me into a corner where I came out to a better field.
I love that, man.
Cool.
You are such a cool dude.
Same, bro. Appreciate you,
man. I just absolutely love you. So thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
And I just love you, man.
Yeah, well, I'm excited to hang with you over the next few days, and bro, it's going to be a good time. And I'm excited. Like, you have been, you've been out. I mean, like, it's Lake Powell's the most beautiful place.
You bought your Speedos, right? You got the memo, the Speedos memo. Of course you did.
I'm just like, literally, I have a zip tie and a sock. like that's cute. You guys are going to wrap the ass up. I'm here to show it.
We'll talk about that on another podcast.
Okay, much love. Take care.